Okay, welcome back to Reading RTI. We talked about I survived the destruction of Pompeii, and Pompeii is located in Italy. Italy is located in Europe. And this is what it looks like today. We talked about the word gladiator, which is a noun, is a man trained to fight with weapons against other men or wild animals. Oops. We have slosh, which is to move irregularly with a splashing sound. We have gnarled, which is knobbly, rough, and twisted, especially with age. Leering is to look at someone in an offensive or unpleasant way. Frantically is a hurried, excited, or disorganized matter. Cunning, skillful, and planning to deceive someone in order to get what you want. Bellow is to shout in a loud voice. So that brings us to chapter 8. Today we're going to read all of chapter 8. So we're reading 38 to 45. And we have a couple questions. We have, what is Marcus and Tata's new fear now that they've escaped? And after reading, what did Marcus notice about Tata? And we also have, why does Tata want to forget about being with the gladiators, and do you think that they are safe? So we're going to get into our reading on chapter 8. So let's move there now. Hey, chapter 8. That afternoon, the road to Vesuvius. So remember, we're going to be reading out loud with me. Let's get shoulder to shoulder, knee to knee, elbow to elbow. Let's read. Chapter 8. They headed for the mountain Vesuvius, a massive triangle of green that loomed up to the east of Pompeii. As they left the city behind, Tata ripped the armor off his shoulders and legs and threw the pieces into a ditch. He left his helmet in a field of wheat, a trade for the old tunic he snatched from the farmer's drying line. They rode for hours, crossing orchards and olive groves, pastures, and fields. Night was coming, and Tata decided they should stop in a patch of woods halfway up the mountain. They got off the mare and stretched their aching legs. Marcus reached into his pocket and pulled out a handful of grapes he snatched from the vineyard they passed through. "Hungry, Peg?" Marcus said to the mare. "Peg?" Tata asked, arching one of his bushy brows. "Short for Pegasus," Marcus said. Tata smiled, stroking the mare's nose. Marcus fed the grapes to Peg one by one until they were all gone. Peg smacked her lips and rubbed Marcus's cheek with her nose. "We have a friend for life, it seems," Tata said. Peg nickered as though she agreed, and Marcus and Tata laughed. It was that moment, as their laughter filled the air, that it really hit Marcus. This was not a dream, not a wish, not a desperate prayer to the gods. He and Tata were together. A jolt of happiness practically lifted him off the ground, and Tata seemed to feel it too. They looked at each other and smiled. But then a shadow passed over Marcus's heart, because as happy as he felt at this moment, he knew they were in terrible danger. "They'll come after us," Marcus whispered. The slave hunters, Festus, would hire the best, most cunning men, experts in tracking their prey. "They won't look for us up here," Tata promised. "The hunters will be searching Pompeii. It will be days before they come to the mountain, and by then we'll be gone. We'll head back to Rome, Marcus. I have no doubt that Linus's friends will help us. Somehow I need to continue Linus's work." That amazed Marcus that Tata could be so certain, so filled with hope. Sorry about that. We are right here. He draped an arm around Marcus's shoulders and looked up into the sky, admiring the bright moon and the swirl of stars. But what Marcus saw in the bright moonlight was the angry bruise on Tata's cheek, the purple scar zigzagging along his chin. How Tata must have suffered these past 2 months. Marcus had already told Tata about this time with Festus. The words had poured out of him during their ride up the mountain, until at last he had told Tata about every last moment of his time with his brutal master. But Tata hadn't said a thing about being with the gladiators, and now Marcus wanted to know. "Will you tell me what happened to you, Tata?" Marcus said. Pain flashed through Tata's eyes, and he looked away from Marcus. "That is the past now," he said, and from his tone Marcus knew that he must not ask again. But he couldn't help thinking about what his father must have been through, and it made his blood boil. "I hate that Lannister," Marcus burst out. "And I hate Festus. I hate all of them for what they did to you, Tata. We need to get even." Yes, Marcus thought, they'd get revenge. They'd set fire to Festus' villa and find the Lannister and... But Tata whipped around, gripping Marcus's shoulders. "No, Marcus," he snapped. "Never speak like that. You must never let hatred take over. Then you are no better than Festus, and hatred like that will destroy you." Marcus blinked, stung by Tata's sharp tone. "I'm sorry, Tata," Marcus said. Tata's face softened. "There is goodness in that world, Marcus, and kindness. You cannot forget that." Goodness? Kindness? Marcus had seen none of that lately. If there was one thing Marcus had learned these past 2 months, it was this: the world was a dark, evil place. Only the most ruthless will survive. But Marcus said none of that to Tata, who would not approve of such dark thoughts. And they were both so tired, they led Peg into a small grove of trees and tied her up for the night. Tata stretched out on a grassy patch. "Tomorrow our new life begins," he whispered, and within seconds he was fast asleep. Marcus lay down next to Tata, but he couldn't get comfortable. His muscles ached from the long ride, but it was the strange noises that kept snapping him awake. Distant rumbles, low hisses. Was he dreaming? Once he drifted to sleep, but was awakened when the earth seemed to be shaking. He sat up, wondering if Tata felt it too. But Tata was sound asleep. Was Marcus imagining things? Maybe what he was hearing were just the rumbles of his own angry heart. But Peg seemed restless too, stamping her feet, snorting. Finally, Marcus got up and stood with her, stroking her patchy fur, resting his cheek against her warm head. He looked down at Pompeii, dimly lit by oil lamps and torches. He made out the shapes of the houses crowded together along the city walls, the boats moored in the harbor. Marcus hugged Peg. "It's okay," he told her. "We're with Tata now. We're safe up here." He knew that was true, that the slave hunters were far away, that Festus was too busy with his important guests to be thinking too much about his escaped slave. Still, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that there was something lurking up here on the mountain, something even more dangerous than the slave hunters. But what could it be? Okay, so you're going to talk to a partner, or you're going to talk to a friend, a stuffed animal friend, or someone in your home if you're remote, and you're going to answer this question: what is Marcus and Tata's new fear now that they've escaped? What did Marcus notice about Tata? Why does Tata want to forget about being with the gladiators? And do you think that they are safe? Now we're going to have 2 vocabulary words, and the first word is massive. Massive is an adjective that means large and heavy or solid. For example, in the book, they said they headed for the mountain Vesuvius, a massive triangle of green that loomed up to the east of Pompeii. Think in your head, what else can you describe as massive? I have this picture of this whale, which is definitely massive. Our next word is revenge. That is a noun, and it's giving harm that you do to someone as a punishment for harm that the person has done to you. For example, yes, Marcus thought they'd get revenge. So, as you can see, this little boy is trying to get revenge on that adult. By getting some water to pour on top of him, but his revenge definitely did not work out. All right, everybody, have a great weekend, and I will see you on Monday.